She washed her feet with salt. And what happened next? No one can explain, ladies and gentlemen. There are moments in life when simple actions carry deep meaning. Moments when what looks ordinary becomes extraordinary. Today we reflect on one such moment. She washed her feet with salt. And what happened next, no one can explain. Salt is small. Salt is common. We use it every day without thinking twice. Yet salt has always carried power. It preserves, it cleanses, it heals wounds, and it gives flavor to what would otherwise be tasteless. Salt may sting, but it restores. When she washed her feet with salt, she was not performing magic. She was making a statement. She was saying, I am willing to endure discomfort for the sake of healing. She was saying, I will cleanse what has carried me through pain, through dirt, through long and difficult roads. Feet represent journeys. They carry us through storms, through deserts, through seasons of waiting. And sometimes our feet become tired, not just physically, but spiritually. They remember where we have been. They carry the weight of regret, loss, and unanswered prayers. The salt touched her feet and it burned. Healing often does. Growth often does. Change is rarely comfortable. And then something happened not everyone could explain it. Some called it coincidence. Others called it imagination. But those who were paying attention saw it clearly. She stood differently. She walked differently. Her posture changed. Her spirit lifted. Because when you cleanse what carries you forward, you don't just change your feet, you change your direction. What happened next wasn't a miracle you could measure. It was a transformation you could feel. Peace replaced heaviness. Purpose replaced confusion. Here's the truth. Sometimes the breakthrough doesn't come with thunder or fire. Sometimes it comes quietly through obedience, humility, and small acts of faith. She washed her feet with salt. And what happened next, no one can explain, because some transformations are meant to be lived, not analyzed. So today I ask you, what do you need to cleanse? What journey has left you weary? What small, painful step toward healing are you avoiding? Don't wait for understanding before you act. Healing doesn't need an explanation. It needs obedience. And when you take that step, however small, don't be surprised if your life begins to move in a new direction. Salt represents healing through discomfort. Healing and growth often come with pain, but that pain has purpose, like salt cleansing a wound. Salt represents healing through discomfort, and this idea speaks to one of the hardest truths about growth. Real healing is rarely gentle. When salt touches a wound, it stings, not because it is harmful, but because it is doing necessary work. In the same way, emotional, spiritual, and personal healing often comes with pain, resistance, and moments when we want to stop. Many people pray for healing, but few are prepared for the process that healing requires. We want relief without confrontation, restoration without reflection, and growth without sacrifice. Yet salt teaches us that preservation and cleansing cannot happen without contact, and contact is rarely comfortable. Discomfort is not always a sign that something is wrong. Sometimes it is a sign that something is finally being addressed. Salt does not create the wound, it reveals it. It exposes what was already there, but hidden beneath layers of avoidance, denial, or time. In life, pain often resurfaces not to destroy us, but to invite us into healing. When memories resurface, when emotions rise, when old struggles seem to reopen, it may feel like failure, but it can actually be progress. Healing demands honesty, and honesty often hurts before it heals. Salt also preserves, and this is important. It keeps things from rotting. Unhealed pain, when ignored, does not disappear, it decays. It turns into bitterness, anger, fear, or numbness. By allowing salt into the wound, decay is stopped. The process may burn, but it saves. In the same way, confronting our pain early, even when it hurts, prevents deeper damage later. It protects the future version of ourselves from carrying what should have been healed long ago. There is courage in choosing discomfort for the sake of wholeness. It takes strength to sit with pain instead of running from it. It takes humility to admit that something hurts and needs attention. Salt does not rush the process, it works steadily. Healing is rarely instant. It is gradual, layered, and often invisible at first. But every moment of discomfort endured with intention moves us closer to freedom. Salt also purifies. It removes impurities that cannot stay if healing is to happen. In life, this may mean letting go of harmful habits, unhealthy relationships, destructive thoughts, or false identities we have carried for too long. Letting go hurts. Change hurts, growth hurts, but staying the same hurts too, just more slowly and silently. Salt forces a decision: either endure brief pain for lasting healing, or avoid pain and allow decay to continue. Perhaps the most powerful lesson salt teaches is that pain is not the enemy. Avoidance is. Discomfort is often the doorway to transformation. When we stop fearing pain and start understanding its purpose, we reclaim our power. We stop asking, why does this hurt? And start asking, what is this healing? That shift changes everything. In the end, salt reminds us that healing is an act of courage, not comfort. It is a willingness to face what hurts so that it no longer controls us. The sting fades, but the healing remains. And when healing takes place, the pain that once defined us becomes proof that we survived, grew, and were made stronger. Feet symbolize life's journey. Our feet carry us through struggles, mistakes, and seasons of endurance, holding the memory of where we've been. Feet symbolize life's journey, and this symbolism runs deep across human experience. Our feet are the part of us that touch the ground, that absorb the dust, the heat, the stones, and the uneven paths we walk every day. They carry us forward whether the road is smooth or painful, whether we are confident or uncertain about where we are going. In many ways, our feet remember our stories. They bear the weight of our choices, our responsibilities, and our perseverance. Wherever we have been in life, our feet have taken us there. Every journey leaves a mark. Long roads create calluses, and difficult seasons leave weariness. In life, struggles shape us in similar ways. Hard experiences toughen us, but they can also exhaust us. Many people keep moving even when they are wounded because stopping feels like weakness. They keep walking through grief, disappointment, rejection, and loss, often without acknowledging how tired they truly are. Feet symbolize that quiet endurance, the ability to continue even when no one sees the pain beneath the surface. Feet also represent direction. Where we place our feet determines where we go next. Each step is a decision, whether conscious or unconscious. Sometimes we walk boldly into new seasons, and other times we wander, unsure of the path. There are moments when we walk in circles, repeating patterns we promised ourselves we would break. Our feet know these patterns well. They retrace familiar paths because familiarity feels safer than uncertainty, even when those paths lead nowhere good. There is also humility in feet. They are the lowest part of the body, often unnoticed unless they ache, yet without them, movement stops. In life, the most important parts of our journey are often the least celebrated: the quiet perseverance, the unseen sacrifices, the days we simply chose not to give up. Feet remind us that progress does not always look impressive. Sometimes progress is just putting one foot in front of the other and refusing to quit. Feet carry memory. Trauma, joy, fear, and hope all imprint themselves into the way we walk. Some people walk with confidence because they trust where they are going. Others walk cautiously because the ground beneath them has betrayed them before. Emotional wounds can shape posture just as physical pain can change a person's stride. When someone has been hurt repeatedly, their steps may grow hesitant, guarded, or heavy. This is not weakness, it is learned survival. Feet also connect us to the present moment. They are always where we are now. While the mind may dwell on the past or worry about the future, our feet stand in the current reality. They remind us that healing and change can only happen in the present. We cannot walk yesterday's road again, and tomorrow's road has not yet appeared. All we truly have is the step in front of us. When feet are neglected, the entire body suffers. In the same way, when we ignore the foundations of our lives, our values, our emotional health, our spiritual grounding, everything else eventually feels unstable. Washing, tending, and caring for feet symbolizes restoring the foundation so that the journey can continue with strength. Ultimately, feet symbolize resilience. They prove that despite pain, detours, and delays, we are still moving. They show that survival is not always loud or dramatic, sometimes it is quiet persistence. And when our feet are healed, strengthened, and cared for, we walk not just farther but with purpose, clarity, and renewed hope for the road ahead. Small actions can lead to deep transformation. What seems ordinary or insignificant can spark powerful inner change when done with faith and intention. True change doesn't always need explanation because not everything meaningful can be measured, proven, or neatly defined. Some of the most powerful transformations happen quietly beneath the surface, where words fail and logic falls short. We live in a world that demands evidence for everything. We want reasons, formulas, and step-by-step accounts before we believe that something real has taken place. Yet the deepest changes in a person's life rarely announce themselves with clarity. They unfold in silence, in private moments, and in ways that are only fully understood by the person experiencing them. There are shifts that cannot be photographed, documented, or easily explained to others. A sudden sense of peace after years of inner turmoil. A release from fear that once felt permanent. A renewed strength that appears without warning. When these moments occur, people often struggle to describe them. They know something has changed, but they cannot point to a single cause or moment that made it happen. This does not make the change any less real. In fact, it often makes it more profound. Transformation is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is subtle. A different response where anger once lived. A calm reaction in a situation that would have caused panic before. A quiet confidence replacing self-doubt. These changes can be easily overlooked because they do not fit the expectations of what change is supposed to look like. But subtle does not mean insignificant. In many cases, it is these small internal shifts that reshape an entire life over time. Not everything valuable needs validation. When change happens within, it does not require outside approval to be legitimate. Others may question it. They may ask what caused it, how it happened, or whether it will last. But inner transformation does not exist to satisfy curiosity. It exists to restore wholeness. Some journeys are deeply personal, shaped by experiences, pain, reflection, and faith that cannot be reduced to a simple explanation. There is also mystery in transformation, and mystery makes people uncomfortable. We prefer certainty over wonder. Yet mystery invites humility. It reminds us that we do not control every outcome or understand every process. When something good happens without a clear explanation, it challenges the belief that everything must fit into human logic. It opens the door to trust in growth, trust in healing, and trust in forces beyond our immediate understanding. Change that cannot be explained often lasts longer because it is rooted deeper. It is not driven by impulse or pressure but by internal alignment. It comes from a place where the mind, heart, and spirit begin to move in harmony. When that alignment happens, behavior naturally follows. Actions shift not because they are forced but because they no longer fit the old version of who we were. People may not notice the moment change happens, but they notice the results. They see the steadiness, the clarity, the peace. They see someone who reacts differently, chooses differently, walks differently. And when they ask what caused it, the answer may be simple but unsatisfying to them. Something changed within. That answer resists explanation, yet it speaks truth. In the end, not all change is meant to be explained. Some transformations are meant to be lived. They are experienced in the way we breathe easier, forgive quicker, stand stronger, and hope again. And even if no one else understands how it happened, the change itself is evidence enough. True change doesn't always need explanation. Some transformations are spiritual and internal. They are felt, not proven or analyzed. Cleansing leads to a new direction because what we carry affects how we move. When burdens, pain, guilt, or unresolved wounds remain unaddressed, they quietly influence our choices, our pace, and even our vision. Many people wonder why they feel stuck, why the same cycles repeat, or why progress feels heavy, not realizing that they are walking forward while still carrying the weight of the past. Cleansing is not about erasing history, it is about removing what no longer serves the journey ahead. Cleansing is an intentional act. It requires awareness and honesty. It begins when a person acknowledges that something needs to be released, not because they are weak, but because they desire to move freely. This release can take many forms. Forgiving someone who caused pain, letting go of shame that no longer belongs to the present, breaking unhealthy patterns, or surrendering fear that has dictated decisions for too long. None of these acts are easy. They often involve confronting emotions that have been buried for survival. Yet without this confrontation, direction remains unclear. When cleansing takes place, clarity follows. It is difficult to see the road ahead when vision is clouded by resentment, regret, or unresolved grief. These emotional weights distort perception. They make opportunities look like threats and change feel dangerous. Once cleansing begins, the mind grows quieter. The heart becomes lighter. Decisions are no longer driven by reaction but by intention. This inner shift subtly but powerfully alters direction. A new direction does not always mean a dramatic change in circumstances. Sometimes the path remains the same, but the way it is walked changes. A person may stay in the same environment yet respond differently. They may face similar challenges but with greater strength and wisdom. Cleansing changes posture. It straightens what pain once bent. And when posture changes, movement naturally follows. Cleansing also restores alignment. Many people drift off course not because they lack ability, but because they are disconnected from their true values and purpose. Over time, survival can replace vision. Coping can replace dreaming. Cleansing reconnects a person to who they are beneath the layers of hurt and disappointment. Once that connection is restored, direction becomes less about force and more about flow. Choices begin to reflect authenticity rather than fear. There is also courage involved in walking a new direction. Cleansing creates space, but stepping into that space requires faith. The familiar, even when painful, can feel safer than the unknown. A new direction demands trust that what lies ahead is worth leaving behind what no longer works. This trust grows when cleansing brings peace. Peace becomes confirmation that the shift is necessary. Direction is not just about destination, it is about movement. Cleansing removes resistance. It allows progress without constant internal conflict. When inner resistance fades, momentum builds. Steps feel lighter. Persistence feels possible. Hope reemerges not as wishful thinking but as quiet confidence in the path ahead. Ultimately, cleansing is an act of self-respect. It says, I deserve to walk forward unburdened. And when that decision is made, direction changes naturally. Life begins to open in unexpected ways. New opportunities appear not because the world suddenly changed, but because the person walking through it did. Cleansing does not just prepare the path, it transforms the traveler. And once transformed, the direction forward becomes clear. Cleansing leads to a new direction. When we heal what carries us forward, we begin to walk differently, think differently, and move with renewed purpose. Small actions can lead to deep transformation, even though they are often overlooked, underestimated, or dismissed as insignificant. We live in a culture that celebrates big moments, dramatic breakthroughs, and visible success. Because of this, we tend to believe that change must arrive loudly and suddenly to be real. Yet most lasting transformation begins quietly, with choices so small they seem almost meaningless at the time. A single decision repeated consistently has the power to reshape a life. Small actions matter because they are manageable. When people feel overwhelmed, they often freeze, waiting for the right moment or the perfect plan. But transformation rarely starts with perfection. It starts with willingness. A small action does not demand that someone has everything figured out, it only asks for participation. One honest conversation, one moment of self-reflection, one act of discipline, or one step toward healing can interrupt years of stagnation. These moments may not feel powerful, but they are. Small actions also build momentum. Change does not usually happen all at once, it accumulates. Just as erosion reshapes stone over time, consistent small choices reshape character, mindset, and direction. Each action reinforces identity. When someone chooses patience once, they are more likely to choose it again. When someone chooses courage in a small way, confidence grows. Over time, these choices become habits, and habits become a way of life. There is also humility in small actions. They require letting go of the desire for immediate recognition. Often, no one sees these choices. No one applauds quiet consistency or private discipline. But transformation does not depend on visibility, it depends on alignment. Small actions align intention with behavior. They close the gap between who someone wants to become and how they live daily. This alignment is where real change takes root. Small actions are powerful because they are accessible to everyone. Not everyone has control over circumstances, resources, or timing, but everyone has control over small choices. Choosing forgiveness instead of resentment, choosing rest instead of burnout, choosing honesty instead of avoidance. These decisions may not change the world overnight, but they change the person making them. And when a person changes, their world eventually follows. Another reason small actions matter is that they bypass fear. Big changes can feel intimidating and risky, triggering doubt and resistance. Small steps feel safer. They lower the emotional barrier to action. Once movement begins, fear loses some of its power. Confidence grows not from thinking about change, but from experiencing progress, however slight. Action, even small, creates evidence that change is possible. Transformation through small actions is often invisible until it is undeniable. People may not notice the early stages, but one day they realize something is different. Reactions are calmer. Decisions are wiser. Patterns have shifted. What looks sudden from the outside is actually the result of countless unseen moments of choice. This is why deep transformation often surprises even the person experiencing it. In the end, small actions teach patience and faith. They remind us that growth is a process, not an event. Each step matters even when it feels ordinary, especially then, because when small actions are taken with intention and consistency, they create change which is not temporary, not fragile, and not dependent on circumstance. They create transformation that lasts.